Rescuers are continuing a desperate search for survivors in Beirut after a massive blast rocked the entire city and sent shockwaves around the world. These are live pictures from the Lebanese capital, where rescue teams are searching through dozens of buildings reduced to complete rubble. Officials say the explosion was caused by nearly 3,000 tonnes of ammonium nitrate used in fertilisers and explosives. The chemical was left unsecured in a warehouse at the city's port. Now let's check some of the latest details. Lebanon's Red Cross says there are at least 100 dead and 4,000 injured, hospitals struggling to deal with the influx of patients. Government officials say the death toll is almost certain to rise and has declared 3 days of mourning. The country's president says around 300,000 people have been left homeless. The damage range estimated to cost close to $7 billion. The United Kingdom says it will send medical teams to Lebanon, while France has also sent rescue teams and equipment. Australia has donated $2 million in humanitarian aid to be distributed equally by the World Food Programme and Red Cross. And here's the very latest from our correspondent Alex Crawford, who's in the Lebanese capital.
Destitute, still dirty and splattered with blood. Siren and her elderly husband have no home left and no business. And right now they feel there's very little to live for.
If I was smaller, I would not stay here. Never. This is not a country. Not a country. I was bleeding from 6:30 till 10:30. No hospital accepting. All the people are on the street.
Like so many of Beirut's residents, they've been up all night, protecting their property. Often for these people, it's simply because they've nowhere else to go. As dawn broke over this devastated city, there was sheer exhaustion as well as shock. This is what it's like for literally miles around. Every building, every cafe and bar, every home has been left like this, destroyed and in bits, with many people left homeless. This was the moment an explosion ripped through the city's port and devastated neighbourhoods for miles around. The shockwave was felt all over the city. A place so scarred from decades of conflict had never seen anything quite like this before. Nearly 3,000 tonnes of ammonium nitrate, which had been stored at the port for 6 years, exploded with a ferocity many likened to a nuclear bomb. The stream of sirens from emergency services was constant. For thousands of people at home or at work, there was no warning and no way to get to safety, only utter shock at the magnitude of this disaster.
I was fishing. I heard that there was a fire. I turned and started to head home and heard something explode. Then this happened. I got injured. I didn't know anything.
Security forces were mobilized across the city, closing off roads leading to the site of the blast. Everything here has been torn apart. Homes, businesses, banks, so much of it reduced to rubble. Hospitals across Beirut are struggling to cope. Many thousands have been injured. They're still counting them and locating the dead.
I went to another hospital and they told me they were at full capacity. I saw a man whose leg had been cut off and a boy who was looking for his parents. So I thought to myself, my injury is minor and the hospital has more to deal with.
Medical services in the country, already buckling under the weight of coronavirus cases and shortages in medicine and equipment, are now dealing with a national catastrophe. 2 weeks state of emergency has been declared by the president.
Every one of our crew, doctors and nurses are operating, even administration. Everyone is working. We have a lot of damage, as you can see. All the ceilings have collapsed at the entrance and the glass windows of the patients' rooms.
It's hard to see how Lebanon can withstand this. It was already suffering the worst economic collapse in its history. plunging hundreds of thousands into poverty. Many more will now be added to this list. The Prime Minister has vowed those responsible for this will be brought to justice. But right now, Beirut is just struggling to get through another day, with tens of thousands of lives devastated by this tragedy. Alex Crawford, Sky News, Beirut.